If you've spent any time in the online rabbit community, you'll see that most people are pretty adamant about not getting a rabbit wet. A wet rabbit is indeed more likely to develop hypothermia, skin irritation, or other health conditions. However, it's not quite as dangerous as people make it out to be. I definitely don't recommend you bathe your rabbit, but there is no need to panic if your rabbit gets wet. As long as you take the time to dry your rabbit off properly, they likely won't have any long-term health conditions. If your rabbit is only slightly wet and fur has not been soaked through, then you probably don't need to dry your rabbit at all. Keep an eye on them to make sure your rabbit is comfortable and no signs of health problems occur. How dangerous is water to rabbits? While there are some dangers to getting a rabbit soaking wet, it's often blown out of proportion. Rabbits are not going to immediately die if they get wet, but it can potentially cause some health complications if they are not dried quickly. You might have heard that rabbits will immediately go into shock if they touch water, but that's honestly very rare. The more realistic dangers are hypothermia and skin infections, but these can often be prevented if the rabbit is dried quickly and thoroughly. Potential dangers when rabbits get wet. While it is true that water is not quite as dangerous to rabbits as many people make it out to be, there are some real consequences if a rabbit is soaked through, especially for long periods of time. Once rabbit fur is wet, it holds on to moisture and does not dry very quickly. So, if they are soaked, they will stay wet for a very long time. Hypothermia. The main risk with wet rabbits is the chance of them getting hypothermia. Because they don't dry very quickly, the rabbit's body temperature can easily fall below healthy levels and leave them in a dangerous situation. This is more common for rabbits who are kept outdoors or left in the direct path of a fan or AC. Severe skin irritation or infection. Rabbits have very delicate skin. Their fur usually protects them very well, but they lose that shield when they are wet. For this reason, rabbits will often have severe skin irritation that could even lead to an infection. Rabbit skin is also delicate enough when wet that it can tear more easily. A small cut can turn into a large wound very quickly. Inner ear or respiratory infection. If water gets into the rabbit's ears or they inhale it, there is potential for an ear or respiratory infection. Look for signs of swelling or redness around the ears or any wheezing and sneezing. Attracting parasites. Fur that is wet for long periods of time can attract bugs that lay their eggs in moist places. This could cause something like fly strike, which is life-threatening for rabbits. Injuries. Rabbits typically don't like water very much, so they are prone to panic when they are placed in a bath or body of water. When this happens, they might kick or jump around without paying attention to their environment. They can cause injury to themselves in their rush to get away from the water. Shock. While uncommon, it is technically possible for a rabbit to go into shock when they get wet. Typically, it would only happen if it's a highly skittish rabbit in freezing cold water. When is it okay if a rabbit gets wet? There is a clear difference between when a rabbit is soaked through and needs to be dried and when they are just a little wet and can take care of themselves. You will probably instinctively know the difference. If your rabbit is just slightly wet or has a spot of wet fur, you don't really need to take any action. You can take a towel to help your rabbit dry off, but even that might not be necessary. Regardless, if your rabbit gets a little wet, it's best to observe them for a day or two just to make sure there are no health concerns that pop up. But, if your rabbit is only wet on the surface of their fur, or only a small portion of their body is wet, then you probably have nothing to worry about. If you enjoyed this video, kindly press the like button. Also, don't forget to subscribe with notifications on, so that you don't miss out on videos like this. Thank you for watching.